I'm Dwayne Brummett. He's Ali Alberigo, and this is the School Owner Talk podcast. Hello again, Dwayne Brummett here with Ali Alberigo, SchoolOwnerTalk.com. Ali, good morning, sir.
Hey, good morning to you, Dwayne. Great to be back with you again and on our call podcast, episode 324.
324, crazy, right?
It is insane. I mean, so what is that? That's how many years we've been? This is like,
I think it's been about 6 years, really, almost 6 years.
Nonstop. Probably the longest run martial art school owner podcast in the industry. I mean, I don't know of any others that have been that long, but maybe there are.
Yeah, I don't know, length of time or even that many episodes, but
right.
We're stubborn.
Exciting.
So what the heck, right?
Yeah, exactly. And you know what's interesting? I was telling somebody the other day, they were asking me about something, whatever the topic was. And I said, hey, go check out our podcast. And I said, the cool thing is you could put in the search bar topics, so let's say it's systemization or sales or motivation. You could put it in schoolownertalk.com and come up with a variety of different shows that may have talked or touched on those different topics. So we're definitely an entire library of knowledge for school owners to listen to and learn from.
Well, free knowledge.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and golden nuggets worth of millions of dollars in ideas, and and we've had some great guests on our show as well. I mean, some of the leaders in our industry and some famous people and so on. And I'm working on a few others right now. I don't have them locked in, so I'm keeping it a secret. But some of them might not even be in the martial art industry, but they could help us. So I'm trying to work on a few angles there to make some really cool stuff.
Sounds perfect. Yeah. And some of the biggest topics have been, I remember when we had done the I Can Get You 100 Leads.
Right.
Podcast. And that was huge. And then your debates with not Chuck Liddell.
John Hackleman.
Yeah. John Hackleman and also John
Graydon. Yes. All the Johns give me a hard time.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, those were crazy. And then we had a really big one with Stephen Hayes. We had 3,000 people downloads on that one particular, 5,000 now on there. It really all depends on the topics, right? And I know, we always say, the sexier they sound, the better. And it's always how do I get? And it's interesting in our industry and how it's still to this day, it hasn't changed since day one. How do I get more students? How do I get more students? And I was looking at that, and you and I were just talking about that. We get I have, what do I have? 49 leads, appointments set for this month. And out of them, I'm probably going to get, 25 to come in and try out my free month. And maybe out of the 25, I'll get 18 or 17 of them that'll stay and actually do a portion of the free month. Maybe I'll come up with 8 or 9 conversions or for the month. And I wonder though, I wonder at how, you were saying how you can maintain a school that signs up 50 a month, 100 a month, and how is that even really possible? Because at the end of the year, if you signed up 20 or 30 a month, you'd have 360 students alone just from new signups at the end of the year. So I wonder on those people that are claiming those numbers, how many are coming in the front door and going out the back door while they're refilling the funnel. So there's so many other variables at how I'd maybe want to run my business as far as retention and so on and so forth.
Nope. Agreed. Yeah. So there's a plethora. I just want to remind everybody, there's a plethora of information at schoolownertalk.com. Obviously 324 now episodes to get the pick of the litter, whatever you're looking for, because we've done a ton of different topics. So
yeah, absolutely. And so now today we wanted to chat because I'm always I'm watching you from afar and I'm seeing you're so busy with your health coaching and different things that you're doing. And I get to live vicariously through you, or you're walking on the beach and you're having fun and you're away and you're whisking away this place and that place. But what I love, and I'm always interested to see the connection between the way businesses that the health coaching business that you're in and how they run their events and motivate their people and, organize their, VIPs get to do this and that and all these different things. And how could we utilize that mindset, even if it's in a very smaller scale in our martial arts schools, and do that to stimulate and motivate and excite our employees and our students and so on. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about like what was the last event that you had gone to?
Well, it was our national conference for health coaching, and there was a little over 16,000 people.
Wow.
In at the conference, and gosh, where were we at? I can't remember the arena. It's where I think the hockey team plays, or the
right.
Yeah.
What state was it in?
Atlanta. It's Atlanta, Georgia.
Oh, Georgia. Okay, cool.
Yeah. So there, I mean, a little over 16,000 people just in attendance.
Wow.
There. Crazy, right?
Yeah.
Crazy. But even the day before the opening ceremonies, and you saw this on my timeline, is I had qualified for one of the, like you had called it, the VIP spots, to go and go to that concert where Tone Loc was, and Rob Bass, and so there's from the 80s and 90s, my era, there was 5 different individuals, and man, it was packed, but
right.
You had to qualify for that event. So it was not, the 16,000. There probably was maybe, I don't know, 700 people.
Okay.
At that event, I don't know for sure, but probably.
Yeah. And now, were those 700 people mixed in an auditorium with thousands of others? Like, was it just your organization?
No, just our organization.
Concert just for you
guys.
A
private concert for our organization. Absolutely.
Yeah. How cool is that?
It was phenomenal. I mean, it was great. It's top notch. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah. So top notch VIP service, right? The whole way. It's like, you're like, okay, you're special. You're not, you had to do something to get there, right?
We had to qualify to get there, right? And so, my qualifications that I had to meet was I had to have a certain volume, obviously, but then I had to have at least 5 other of my coaches that had 5 of their own clients.
Okay.
And so and you had to do that for at least 3 months in a row.
Right.
So and I did.
So I'm thinking, like, for me, this whole entire thing, I think of it and I go like, okay, how does this make sense to a martial arts school owner? Like, what does it matter? They're like, I don't want to do health coaching. I don't care what Dwayne's doing. But my ultimate goal is more like, I'm interested. Like, I'd like to know how we could take some of these ideas and make them something that we could do within our martial arts school. And I'm right away thinking like, so you're a high performer. You have some people under you that are high performers. And now you're able to, because of the total overall performance, come to this special VIP event. And I wonder, like, how can we do that with students? Like, maybe we can incorporate the ones that maybe come to the most classes, or the ones that are referring the most members, or the ones that are I don't know, some other ones I can't think, have the most perfect attendance, if you do perfect attendance, and do these little mini specialty events to make them feel like VIPs, and give them some delineation. They're at this tier, they're like I forget, platinum people, right? Because they did X, Y, and Z. They fit these 5 criteria. So, and they're not paying, they're not joining, they're not in a special program that costs them money, but we're just because you don't pay extra to be in that thing. You can't go to that VIP concert, right? Unless you've performed. So, so really, like, you had to work to get there. How could we utilize that in our schools? It's something to think about.
Yeah. And not only that, I would take it to the next level. So what I'm thinking about with your school is
no pun intended.
Right. Yeah. Your coaching program, taking it to the next level.
Yeah.
Shameless plug, but it's a great program. Right. So anyways, so to kind of correlate it with your branding. So
Right.
your school is a ninjutsu school.
Yeah.
So with those things, what I would recommend is those different levels. If you wanted to create those opportunities for people, that there's probably some sort of Japanese names or
Yep.
Japanese terms for, and I don't mean for these, but let's just say bronze, silver, gold, platinum level, right?
Yep.
But you don't want to use that in a martial arts school. You're going to want to use some sort of terms that would coincide with
Yeah.
the branding of your school. So that's initially what I'm thinking, with your school.
Right.
But I think the importance of this is not only have they reached those levels, but they're also performing at those levels. So, for
Yeah.
instance, what is your for us, it's called Storm Team. So it's a
Right.
special
Right.
team
We have
role model.
we are of a team leadership character development program. So that's
So,
kind of like your storm team, right? That's so people who want to learn how to become instructors, they sign up for this program and they learn, not only they learning how to be instructors, but we teach them public speaking, goal setting, time management, time slicing, all these different monthly lessons that we do that make this program interesting. And by the way, in that program, we have 3 different levels. In ninjutsu, the ninja had a low level agent, like a field soldier, which was called a geinin, meaning the lowest level. And then you had a middle level chunin, which was more like the military leaders. And then you had the highest guy, the head was jonin, the high level warriors. They didn't really fight in the battle, but they were out there making strategies and plans and all, and sending people out. So we have patches for that for our leadership team. But I was just thinking, I said, maybe I wrote down maybe revitalize, so you probably can't see it, revitalize levels of students, and utilizing those terms might work well, for that.
yeah, and in order to maintain that patch, they have to maintain that certain
Level.
actions or levels.
Yeah.
So, for instance, one way it could be they not only are they meeting the criteria with so for us, we have a storm team. We have they have a storm team monthly lesson, and we actually put it into our app. And so it's all automated. Once they pass the test, they go to the next one. We open up that part of the app for them. But and that's just minimum requirements just to keep moving through the program. But what I'm thinking is when they come in to help out for classes, they'll have a certain number of classes that they're required to help out with in order to maintain that level. But if they do more than those, then maybe they actually, they maintain the level, but their status at that level is different. Does that kind of make sense? And so maybe throughout every quarter or every half a year, or maybe it's annual, kind of like, for us with this conference, it's annual. Maybe there's some sort of celebration, something that happens annually when you make those marks. Does that kind of make sense?
It totally does. Now, the only thing that I think about, and I think probably some people who are listening might be going, wow, do I want to add this next layer of tracking, work, and so on? So I'm thinking to myself, yeah, that would be cool. And that would kind of delineate and give certain people accolades for the overachievers who come to every single class. And by the way, we do perfect attendance awards in my school. But then there's a downside to that as well, because then there are certain kids, like if they go 3 days a week 12 times a month for the majority of my students, and maybe the little warriors come 2 days a week, that's 8 classes a month, they get a perfect attendance trophy and a certificate. And I have this whole system. If they get 3, they turn them in, they get a big one, and they get 3 big ones, they turn them in, they get a plaque and like a year of perfect attendance. However, I do have a downside where kids can't make it 3 days a week, so that they never get perfect attendance, and it becomes demotivating for them because it's not their fault. And they're like, Mom, I never get a trophy. And they're like, that's it. And again, hey buddy, well, we don't come 3 days a week, tough luck. Or how does that hurt their motivation? So, and I just see a whole ton of tracking, but I love the concept though, Dwayne. It's what if we did without even having these systems, we like a patch or whatever. What if we just looked at our clientele and said, everyone who comes and they've made perfect attendance every month, or if they've done it, 5 months out of the year, they all get to come to a special concert party at our school. Like these are the VIPs, the ones that are working their hardest, right? And then we let everyone know about it, what it took to get there and why they were invited.
Right.
And then include those people in, and then promote the hell out of it so other people want to go and become part of that elite class. Like I think that's kind of like phases in instructors, right? Like you want an instructor, phase one instructor, to maybe be a certain belt level, phase two, and then a phase three, the black belt level, like, and they could teach certain groups of people, right? I'm just thinking out loud. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I just think you have to work it out. And like you said, you got to work the problem too. So, if there's going to be some individuals that will not be included based upon some certain things that may be fair or unfair, then maybe you need to rework the problem and decide
Right.
that, so and I'm not saying you need to do this, but maybe perfect attendance needs to be 2 times a week, not 3 times a week in your school. Cause then that would
Yeah.
eliminate that. That doesn't mean that people that come 3 times a week aren't recognized even more, or maybe that
Right.
puts them at another level, but the latter can still get, or the former can still get perfect attendance, and the latter can get excellent attendance or
Right.
phenomenal attendance. And so it's just a
Yeah.
step
Now,
above.
again, now we're kind of like, now we're adding in more and more layers of work for us, right? Like, because we're trying, and I think it kind of goes back to that whole entire appeasing the masses versus rewarding the few that work extra hard. Back in
Well,
the
I think
day.
that does. I mean, if perfect attendance is 2 times a week, then they can still achieve that.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But if phenomenal attendance is 3 or more times a week, then they just can't do that, and that's okay. I think that separation is fine,
Yeah.
as long as perfect attendance is 2 times a week.
Right. So now, so like I'm thinking like, okay, well, what if we just did a party, year-end party for everyone at our school, like the people who went to that, and do something like over the top special, like like at our tournaments, for the early tournaments, that when we first started our organization, I had guests coming in every tournament: Ernie Reyes Jr., Carrie Tagawa, Timok, from The Last Dragon, people like that were guests. They'd sign autographs, they'd take pictures. It made people want to come to those events and be there just to meet those people, but it was an added benefit. So I wonder, like, some of us, I think that, and not all of us, there are a lot of schools that do this already, but we're going to do an end of the year party. I may do it at my house. I don't know if I can fit everyone, so it'll have to be like, come first serve, who signs up the first 50 or 80 people, and do a pool party at my house, and just hang out. Everyone brings with their own food, potluck dinner. Years ago, I used to do a luau at my school, which we have a big, and that's something I'm considering doing, that is, and the pool party separately. But how do we reward? And I love the fact, like, I was looking at that concert and seeing all those acts, like, what could we do on a smaller scale just to show our students that we appreciate them and build that bond and be like, yeah, this is something that I'm really proud to be part of.
Yeah, I mean, look, it was a CNC Music Factory, Mark McGrath, Montel Jordan,
Wow.
Rob Bass, and Tone Loc.
Yeah. Amazing. Like, all back in the 80s, A-list performers.
Right.
Now still very popular. They have that tour. I know my wife loves going to that. I forget what it's called, and it's coming to our town. She's like, would you go with me? And I'm like, nah, not really. If it was all my 80s metal bands, I would go in a heartbeat. But I don't know. I'm not really into that music as much to be able to sit through it. But she would love that. Imagine if you did something somehow, even if you had, let's say I did my barbecue and I got some special celebrity to come and hang out, like, and just sign autographs and be at the party, paid them to do it. Something to that effect. I mean, those are pretty, that's something that I think would be pretty exciting. So my thought is, like, how can we do more of that?
Yeah. And the conference, I think the conference is designed to inspire, or,
Right.
or in some cases, re-inspire, to motivate, to learn a few things that you may or may not even known, and then had some aha moments going, yeah, I've heard that before, but this was the final key that I needed to go, oh, yeah, I had an epiphany here, or in your case, a paradigm
Yeah,
shift.
exactly. Do they train too? Like, do you have seminars you could go to with different people, or is it just like it's not like a super show or something like that where you're there, you're in rooms, you're learning from all these different people. This is more just like, hey, let's all go and party and motivate and that kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean the speakers are very professional. Now they're all in this, they're all health coaches themselves.
Right.
A lot of them been in it for 10 years, 7 years, 5 years, whatever.
Right.
When every single one of them spoke, you never heard the word
Right. Right.
at all.
Mm-hmm.
The nice thing is you got to hear a little bit about them. Some of them I'd already heard their story. It was nice to rehear it.
Right.
Where they had come from. For instance, one of the speakers, when she grew up, I mean, she was in, I forget what state, Iowa?
Yeah.
No, wait, Idaho. She came from a trailer park in Idaho.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that was her upbringing. You would have never
There's,
thought that
there's enough. There's just enough jokes just in that statement alone that we.
Another one was, married in an abusive relationship, of course, beat down.
Yeah.
Decided to get healthy and then start other people getting healthy. In the meantime, had to leave that abusive relationship.
Right.
Has kids, but financially is totally free because of what she had done.
Right. Right.
It's just, so it was really neat to hear some of the stories. So I guess like in our world, there are stories that our students don't necessarily know about us, even like where we came from, or some martial arts stories that we've had, or even life stories and life lessons.
Yeah.
And if you've had your school long enough, you have those opportunities, I believe, with some of your instructors as well, where they can talk about, different concepts or different hardships or different things that have happened in their lives that the martial arts has helped them through, and why it's so important to continue your training and those type of things. So I don't know that we necessarily, although I agree with you, it'd be nice to bring in some celebrities or a celebrity. We don't always necessarily have to do that. Sometimes we can actually be the celebrity, if you will, in some of those instances as well.
So tell me though, they had like a big room and everyone was there, and then they had guest speakers come up and tell their origin story and talk about what they've done and accomplished and how. It wasn't necessarily technique on how to do, but you got to meet these people that have really succeeded, and the A-listed players.
Yeah, absolutely. Top players in the organization. Not all of them told their story. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But yeah, there was definitely different topics from, I don't want to say overcoming objections, but really overcoming fear. In yourself.
Right.
Those type of things, how to organize your day, to get everything done. Just, a bunch, just an array of different things. But it was so professional. You saw some of also the entertainment that was happening prior to, and like for the opening ceremonies, every morning there was some entertainment, and then the closing ceremonies there was more entertainment, before everything was kicked off and then finished. And then there was a big gala at the very end, which I didn't go to the gala, although I saw pictures from other coaches. It was massive, just massive.
Amazing.
But I had to get up at 4 a.m. and drive home. So, it was already 10 o'clock at night. So I was going to go home and go to sleep, go back to my hotel.
How long was the drive for you?
It was about 11 hours in totality.
Not terrible.
No. I mean, it's a 10-hour drive, but when you stop 3 or 4 times to go to the bathroom and, coming back, it took me about 12 hours. Coming back, going down was only 11, but coming back, it took me 12. I drove about 2.5 hours and then I was exhausted. So I pulled over into a rest area and took about a 15-minute nap and then kept driving. And then what was funny, it was about, I think it was like 12:30 in the afternoon. I had scheduled a health assessment. So I pulled off and did a health assessment and put the lady's order in. you know, so I was off the road for about 45 minutes to do the call and put the order in. And then I got back on and kept driving. And so
you had that happen when you came and visited me and it was a blizzard, right? Didn't you pull off at the rest area and it ended up waking up later and the car was covered in snow or something? That was in the middle of winter when you came and visited. It was January or whatever.
yeah, that was one of the worst storms. And so, yeah, I actually pulled over. And the nice thing about that one compared to, because I have a truck now, but at that time I had a little Toyota Prius. And so falling asleep in my little Toyota Prius, and you know, you have gas forever, so I wasn't worried about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. You kept it running with the heat on. You were all good. Yeah. So I mean, this is kind of cool. So I'm thinking like, okay, for people out there, my one thing that I would say that they should be pulling out, extracting from a lot of what we're saying is like, for me, I wrote down a few things. I wrote VIP member mentality, learning and seeing like whether you want to do that within your school and have certain members who exceed or excel or come more often, and maybe kind of segregate different parts of your population to motivate them. You could give them different titles or levels.
Yes. And also, I would even say if you're able to track this and come up with a way to do it, the ones that are involved in all of the activities, all the events as well.
Right. Well, you certainly could do that on Spark, because if you tag an event, like for me, Nerf Wars, I do a checkout page and I give it Nerf Wars 2022. Everyone who signs up for that event has that tag because they signed up immediately. They get tagged, and you could pull these specialty things up. Like we have, you know, people who are recently promoted to a certain belt level, we give them a tag, white belt promotion, and then they get an automation and they get a series of emails congratulating them what they have to look forward to, the next level of curriculum that they'll be learning. And they get these different processes at that belt level, right? What gear they need to buy, et cetera, et cetera. Right. The other thing I wrote down, maybe revitalizing levels of the students, like understanding that, hey, listen, maybe you can have a certain criteria. They come to X amount of classes, they get, you know, each week or each month, you know, perfect attendance awards, or you give them a certain, you know, status, a patch, you know, a name, you know, they're in this program, they get labeled as the middle level, high level, low level, like that kind of thing. And having that done. And then I also wrote down what you mentioned, which is really great. I wrote down, you know, get some video stories and testimonials from the students, martial arts stories, right? Like how their origin story, like what has the martial arts done for them? And by the way, that's stuff that we should be doing more often. And then utilizing those videos on Instagram, on, you know, Facebook pages, you know, in your, you know, whatever it is that your pamphlets or digital media that you're selling or you're sending out, and, you know, emails and so on. And the last thing I wrote down is having a party, a recognition party. I do a holiday party every year, and it's a Christmas party, and it's free. Everyone brings potluck dinner. Santa always tends to find time to come and visit. You know, we sometimes do a little performance with our team or a few members and do a little martial arts, and everyone just hangs out. We do it in my dojo. I have a Christmas tree that has a digital countdown. So I do the digital countdown to the Christmas party, you know, 49 days away. And then the Christmas tree, I decorated with the paper Christmas balls, and when they sign up, it says their name, the Smith family, 4 members, and I stick the Christmas ball on the Christmas tree. So as people sign up, the Christmas tree starts getting decorated with all the Christmas balls, and we know who's coming. Yeah, and I do the same exact. And by the way, this Christmas tree is a retrofit. It's like a Christmas tree made out of plywood, and we stick it over a jack-o'-lantern, which we bought the jack-o'-lantern Christmas, you know, like the Halloween pumpkin jack-o'-lantern. They sell it at Michael's, like a craft store, and it has a digital countdown. So we use that for our Halloween party, and we do the same thing, countdown to the Halloween party. Then at the end of that, we put the Christmas tree right over the top of the digital countdown, and we use it for Christmas. But it's just another way to visually show people and give back. And I think that those parties, end of year party, one type event, award dinners that some people do, whether you charge for it or you give it away for free, these are all things that I see as a way to really, you know, revitalize or motivate or whatever, you know, to our people.
Don't you, in your tournament circuit, don't you have an awards dinner?
Yeah, that's for all of the New York tournaments, people who register for our rating system. And the first 2 tournaments this year, we gave that away for free. So we have about 200 people in our rating system, and people are signing up for it. Then at the end of the year, this year, we tally. And by the way, the And this could be used in schools. It's not necessarily all first place winners and you won first place every time. It's for whatever event you win, first through fourth, you get in a certain accumulation of points.
Yep.
So my daughter did not love sparring and was not the best at sparring. However, she would always win her division in sparring and get the highest award because she would consistently, I force her to compete, and she'd get like third or fourth place, sometimes first, every once in a while, but then she'd gather points and she'd have the highest amount of points. So you didn't always have to win first place, but you did have the most points at the end of the year. And at the end of the year, we totaled up the winners and they all got different awards. The ones who won multiple divisions, forms, fighting, sparring, self-defense, they maybe got an eagle. The others would get a plaque, and then, and so on. So we'd normally have 250 to 300 people at our awards dinner for the tournaments. It's a great event. We hire a DJ. It's beautiful. The food is awesome. We're up there on the dais giving the awards out. We have picture booths for them to take photos at. It's really pretty cool. So think about that. How can we make that, especially with multiple schools? Like if you own multiple schools, that'd be a great way to bring them all together at the end of the year and give rewards and awards out for, different layers of success within those schools.
Well, it kind of reminds me of your red carpet premiere product where you talk about every event needs to be a red carpet premiere.
Yeah.
And so what we're talking about here, I think, is how can we take, the experiences that we've had through different venues. So the Martial Arts Super Show to, the convention that I was just at, or just things that you've experienced in life. And how can you implement those into your school in order to, and I think what the important part is, in order to really bring together the community of the school. I think sometimes, and I'm guilty of this, I think sometimes we lose focus that our program is, yes, we're, the main thing that we teach is martial arts. So of course we're teaching self-defense.
Right.
And then the side benefits of those is, discipline and focus and coordination and all those other things. But I think one of the things that we sometimes don't, or we have a hard time remembering or don't focus on, is the fact that we are creating a community.
Right.
And when we create that community, it really then starts to gel everybody together on the same mission. So I think about David Nemiroff, right? Where he's an Aikido stylist,
right?
The type of community that he is creating in his school is a different feeling. It's still a family atmosphere like mine, but his is such a traditional type feeling, which is not a problem. I'm not knocking it. I think it's really important, and it's especially important to him, but he's not caved on that. Because I remember even when you first started working with him, he was one of the individuals like, look, Ali, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that because that's against my philosophy there. Now he has kind of molded and shaped and bent to some of your suggestions, but still has not lost the philosophy or the community that he wants to create. So when you are creating those things, make sure that you really take in consideration that the community is the most important thing that you're trying to create. Yes, you may be creating separations in those communities or different levels of accomplishments, but we don't want to lose the community feeling.
Yeah. And then after all, I think that, and by the way, him and I, we just chatted this morning, and, the biggest struggle I ever had with him was not the ideas. It was how him and I can figure out how to fit them into his way of thought. I texted him, I said, I just mentioned you on our podcast. He says, yeah, what'd you say? I'm so sick of that Nemiroff guy. But so what we had to do, and this, by the way, for those that are listening, you have to make sure that you understand, like, not every idea that you see may be something that you would do the way it is in total, right? But maybe you can and don't extract pieces from it, because that never works. Because then you're not going to get the same effect that the guy who came up with that system is getting, and you're going to be mad and you're going to say, it sucked anyway. But you have to find a way to make it your own. While, like, for example, Perfect Attendance Awards, we give out trophies. In Aikido, the trophies it's not a competitive environment. So he needed to find an award, a reward that was non-trophy like, so we made dog tags with different kanji on the dog tags in different colors. So it was definitely an award that people could wear proudly. By the way, this could be another way to separate your segments of your population in your school, that, hey, if they've done 6 months in a row, they get this, or if they've done this, they get a dog tag, or they get a free t-shirt or something to that effect. So we have to find a way to make it work for us. However, we got to make sure that, I can't lose our integrity, so to speak, that kind of thing.
Yep.
Yeah. So for me too, like thinking about what you have, another thing, like when you went to the event, you mentioned, you have your group and your downline, right? Your people who are under you that are also building their groups, right? Do you motivate, like you're on the phone with them, motivating them, because hopefully they'll get people underneath them, and that whole MLN, multi-level marketing kind of concept where it grows that way. But do you do things with them? And like, do you do special meetings with all of your team and brainstorm, Zoom meetings? Like, what do you do? And by the way, that could be us with our instructors of multiple schools. Who's great at this is Sensei Brennan. Brenner, Solomon is amazing with this. So he has his whole organization. I've been there and spoke for him, and he's got 40, 50 people on a Zoom meeting of all the instructors and learning ninjutsu and other styles and drills and so on. But how do you do it? Do you do that?
They even do breakout sessions too in their
groups, right?
So, So the nice thing is, in the line or organizational line that I'm in, we have Monday night Zoom calls, 7 to 7:30. Sometimes they may go to 7:45, depending, but mostly, it's 7 to 7:30 Central Time. And, they take the lead on those things. Sometimes we'll do little mini boot camps where it might be a 4-week series on Saturday morning, so let's say it's, 9 to 9:30 or 9 to 9:45 every Saturday for the next 4 weeks. And this is the topic that we're going to work on, those type of things. So with regards to actually, leading a training, I don't have to do that. No. But that being said, I've been on some of the trainings when I've been asked, how do I do X, Y, and Z? You know what I mean?
Right.
And then with my own coaches, my coach partners, we have a support chat that's on Facebook. So it's, me and my wife in their support chat, and then, my coach and his wife as well. So there's 4 of us in that chat. So when things are asked, or if there's, a question or whatever, I can't get to it, somebody else will get to it.
Right.
And help out in that fashion. But yeah, it's a just-in-time learning model. So when you need it, you're going to learn it. It's really kind of like the martial arts. When you need to learn a front kick, that's when we're going to teach you the front kick. And when you need to learn, the parry, we're going to teach you how to parry. So, in that respects, it really lines up very, very nicely to what I'm already accustomed to. It's a mentorship model, and that's what I've been doing for years. And so it's not, it's not any different. So that makes it very simple, very easy to do.
Do you have, and this is why I only asked this because I know we have it in the martial arts, do you have like people who are maybe in your organization that are underperformers? Do you then isolate them and try to retrain them or teach them differently, motivate them, like to get them so they're all performing at a certain level? That, because I remember my dad was in Amway, and for years, his biggest dilemma was he'd get people on board, they'd be all gung ho, and then they'd do nothing. Right? They wouldn't coach, they wouldn't sell, they wouldn't sign people up. So that was his biggest frustration with that company, that he was always recruiting, and he recruited them well, but then they never trained and they never did well. So then they would quit. So same thing goes for schools, right? Like we're in our martial arts school, we get them in the door, we sign them up, they're happy initially, and then they kind of, the excitement wears off. And unless we're doing a great job of the whole way of maintaining, monitoring them, and staying on top of them, then they'll eventually fizzle out and quit as well.
Well, I think the difference is in the martial arts school, they're paying us.
Right.
So we have a responsibility to, follow up with them, make sure they're coming to class, motivate, remotivate, those type of things. In this instance, it's their own business. So how they want to run their business, that's their business.
Right.
And so, I will ask questions. I will see if they need things. Do I have some that underperform? Sure. And when I'll reach out, and if they want help, I help. If they don't want help, I don't help. But the ones that want help, those are the ones that I give my time and attention to.
Isn't that interesting though? Like, with students, like we want everyone to do well, and we try to help them, and they don't listen at times. Like I'd say my buddies and I were laughing today at breakfast. We're like, you ever walk up to that kid and, you show them the move, and then they don't listen, but then you grab their hand and you adjust it, and then they listen for a second, you walk away, they're back to doing it the way they want. And you're like, I just wasted 5 minutes of my time on that particular student. And then you walk away, like going like, what was the sense of it all? But with what you're saying, go ahead.
Yeah, but they paid you to do that.
Yes. Well, they're paying you. Not necessarily that personal attention is individualized, right?
Okay.
But you know what I mean? Like we did a whole group class, and I showed the move 5 times and 10 times, and then we're doing it over and over again. That's what they're kind of paying us for. That personal attention is us showing an interest in them. And if they don't want to fix it, we can't be upset with them and upset with ourselves because they're just not getting it. So you're saying the same thing. You might have performers and some people are not. And then you just focus on the ones that ask for help, because those are the ones most motivated to learn.
The ones that are in action, and asking questions. Those are the ones that I focus the most on. And the ones that are not in action and are not asking questions, I reach out, but I'm not going to give any extra energy if you're not going to put in the work yourself.
Right. So that would be us teaching the class, but not always running over and trying to fix that person. And if we try to fix that person and they didn't listen, that's okay. Because I like that. Inaction and asking questions shows that they have the desire.
But I do think there's a different responsibility as a martial arts school owner to your student that is paying you to give them attention.
Right.
Where this coach partner is not paying me.
Right.
To give them attention. So, if they were paying me, I would probably give them a little bit more attention, even if they were still in action.
Gotcha.
But they're not paying me. This is their own business. And if they want help with their business, I'm here to help them with their business.
Right. Right.
But I'm not going to be a dentist and pull the teeth.
Right.
But I will be the dentist and pull the teeth with my martial arts students, because they are forking out some money, to do that. And eventually, if they're not going to do it, they're going to quit anyways. But I in good conscience, can go to my martial arts student and say, I can see why you're leaving. You didn't put the effort in, and we did put the effort in. We did the extra private lessons. We did this, we did that. So I do think it's time for us to part ways.
Yeah, that's interesting though. And I think that for me, it's always been a student joins for life. I mean, that was my desire. I want them to be there. I want them to get married. If they were a kid, grow up, get married, have children. They're not going anywhere. Like I got mad at one of my black belts. He's up for renewal and he's having some knee issues. So I happened to text him. He was at the doctor's office getting a consult on whether he's going to get gel put in the knee, injection, yada, yada, yada. It's like, I'm just waiting before I renew to hear where I'm at. And I went off on him. I'm like, you don't have to be a guy throwing high kicks. I said, you could still stay with our school. Like, would you just quit because you have a knee injury? Like, wouldn't you help teach, be a part of, mentor, and shift what you do? But people are always like, almost like, oh, this is no longer for me. I'm leaving. And what you just said made a lot of sense. So like, if people are not performing, they didn't put the energy in, when they leave, they leave. Like, what else can you do? You could kind of convince them to stay, but eventually they're going to quit because they just never had that mindset that nothing that gets in the way, I'm going to overcome it. Anything that's in any wall, I'm going to climb. Any speed bump, I'm going over it. So it's about that mindset, right?
And I used to be like that. I used to believe that, you know, everybody was going to stay, or that I could motivate everybody and anyone.
Right.
That was such a utopic
Yeah.
thought.
Right.
And I'm glad that I was naive at the time,
Yeah.
but I'm no longer naive now. And look, I had a family leave, maybe 4 months ago, and we had a phone call with the dad. This was his problems. You know, it was twofold. One was on the floor. The other one was the whole COVID thing.
Right.
And I thought I solved the COVID problem because, you know, I put some information inside the app that, you know, he kind of said, you know, we really need to let people know what they need to do and when they can actually come back and make it legit. And I'm like, okay, that's great advice. I put it in the app.
Yeah.
And then on the floor, he has previous martial arts experience. Of course, we weren't meeting his expectations of what he thought we should be doing and how we should be treating his children. And I'm not trying to defend myself, but in the process, you know, he kept telling me that his both of his children are very sensitive, and then yet he wanted me to, you know, really be very harsh and dogmatic, you know, on the floor. And I just said, that's just not how we do it. You know, we have a model that we're in it for the long haul. And so what I don't want to do is I don't want to be so hard on a second grader that they are going to want to quit.
Right.
Because from white belt to black belt, we're looking at 4 years, and I've got a lot of time to chisel those things off. And the closer they get to black belt, the harder I can be on them, because we'll have a much deeper relationship at that time. But if I am hard straight off in the beginning, and it's not like I let people go willy-nilly, that's not what I mean. But my goal is to develop that relationship in the beginning so that by the end, when they get to that black belt, you know, test, I can be that jerk, and they know that I'm coming from a position of love, not from a position of hate. And we just didn't see eye to eye. In the years prior, that would have devastated me, that family left. And I was really disappointed that they left. But it didn't affect me. I kept moving on, and I'll continue to move on. So
that's called seasoned teaching, right? Where, you know, I learned to move on way quicker. I know it affects you. It bothers you. Even probably that bothered you at the moment, but it might have taken you 2 months to get over it years ago, and then less time, you know, 10 years ago. But now it's like a few days and you're like, who were they? You know, like, and you're moving on to the next people. I totally get it. In fact, I'm writing an article right now. Maybe you could help me with this and give me a little blurb to incorporate. And it's called Old School Discipline versus New Style Teaching. And I'm going to get like a bunch of my buddies just to write a little 100-word little paragraph about what their thoughts are on that benefit and mentality. So if you could help me with that, I'd appreciate it, and write it. And I'm going to pop it into the article. But so all right, that's cool. We definitely want to make sure that we're taking out what we've been talking about, those benefits, right? Those things that are, you know, so beneficial to the student, that customer service, that, you know, the VIP mentality, you know, thinking in that way, that red carpet premiere. And I put it up on you know, our podcast comments where I had my red carpet premiere link. So so I hope that people will get out, you know, some of those things. And I know you have to end in about 2 minutes. So, because you have another thing to jump on, so we could get that wrapped up. But I hope people got something out of this. And if you have any final comments on that.
Yeah, I was just going to share this real quick. And this is, it's Grandmaster Hafner now. I almost called him Professor Hafner. But he always talked about, you know, like, you know, the circles. So yeah, the inner circle.
Right.
And you have that inner circle. That's generally, your, especially if you're at this level, that is your core team. So that could
Right.
be your head instructor and then your program director. Those are the individuals that you need to spend the most time with. The next circle are your instructors. So all the other instructors that work for you. The next circle outside of that for us is our STORM team members. So those are special team or role model individuals that are wanting to learn how to teach. The next circle outside of that is the leadership members. So that's our upgrade program.
Mm-hmm.
The next circle are the general students. And then
Right.
outside of or then you draw one more circle, and that's your leads and prospects. But then outside of that circle is everybody else. So the population, right? So everybody in your community. But if you go back to those circles, the smallest one, the inside one, those are the people that you need to be spending your most time, your most energy with.
Right.
And then so on and so forth. And just learning that concept from him. And to me, it really mimicked, obviously, my Christian faith. So Jesus he had 12 disciples, but he spent the bulk of his time with 3 of them. There was a 3 inner circle of those individuals. And then the other ones he spent the other time with, right? And then the multitudes he spent the other time with. And so he even segmented, his population or his followers, to different degrees and the amount of time that he would spend with them.
Yeah, I love that. And that's, I kind of, again, I'm jotting, you might see my head down and I'm writing. So I'm like thinking about like that. There's a Japanese symbol. Well, in yin and yang, there's that symbol with the squiggly mark, positives and negatives. In Japanese, a very similar logo, but it's one big circle with a small one in the middle. But I look at that and I go like, okay, like, so then maybe the focus, and I'll leave this and get off the show, is like we have, as school owners, we should see who are in our inner circle and try to expand that. So what do we need to do to get that inner circle to grow? So you have more of those people that are so dedicated. They're with you for everything. They're instructors. And then your leadership team, grow that. And then your core students that are training all the time, grow that. And then, of course, work on the ones that are not as active, not as into it, and have meetings with those parents and find out why. Are they just too busy? Do they not find a value? Do they not get all the tools that are at their fingertips, et cetera, et cetera? That's really what we could think about. But that's awesome, Dwayne. This has been a great call. I got 4 different things and notes from it, like on there. So I'm going to go, I think that's my biggest problem, is that I'm always trying to update, change, because I keep myself busy that way and drive my staff crazy, but I think it's always good to think that way.
I think so. And just with, the only thing is forward think about everything before you implement it. How is this going to affect the culture of my school? Right. For the long haul. So yes, it might be a great idea at the moment, but really try to work out the problem in advance for the years to come, to make sure that you're not, I don't want to say wasting your time, but that you're not putting your energy into something that will be a waste of time later on. Yeah. So that's the only
upstream concept, right?
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Allie, I appreciate it, sir.
You have a great day. Take care, everybody. We'll talk to you soon.
All right. Have a good one, sir.
Bye. You too.
All right. Bye. Thank you for joining us for another episode of Martial Arts School Owner Talk podcast. This would not be possible if it weren't for the support of our amazing sponsors. Please check out Elite Insights for all your website needs. LeadHunterMedia.com, your online digital marketer and content provider. Academy Kings BJJ Growth Consulting and Management Group at GrowMyAcademy.com. SparkMembership.com, hands down the best martial arts software for school owner management on the planet. GetKarateStudents.com, a martial arts growth consulting company for all your systems. AddHealthCoaching.com, helping school owners create a whole nother revenue stream for their school. We will see you next time.